Hello, we are Anna-Varney, and we are tired. I am. Still, I'm going to try to tell you everything you ever wanted to know about that fabulous first tape. Well, I'll tell you what I remember, which I'm afraid is not much, because most of the time back then, I wasn't really there, if you know what I mean. Oh, and I'll probably be making tea as well at some point, so multitasking, I know. Ah, God, okay. Where do I begin? So, a few weeks ago, yes, in November of 2020, yes, the year of the beautiful plague, my label, or Alex, or as I call it, Stupid Alex. No, I don't. Well, sometimes I do. Well, anyway, he gave me a call. Oh, actually, he didn't just call me. He sent a message first, asking if he was allowed to call, as one should do. Because you don't call just people. You know, that's rude, hostile even, practically rape. So anyway, he gave me a call, and he said that something had reminded him of the fact that next year would be the 30-year anniversary of Sopor's first tape, and he really wanted to release it on vinyl. And he wanted to know what I thought of his idea. Now, under normal circumstances, I would have said, oh, fuck off. But we had just done Sopor's first CD on vinyl. You know, the one with that awfully long German title. And much to my surprise, I ended up really liking it. So much so, in fact, that if I wasn't getting a copy anyway, you know, I would have totally bought my own album. The glow-in-the-dark version, of course. In fact, coming to think of it, I have bought my own stuff in the past. God, don't ask. Oh, that rhymed. Which means it's true. Well, of course it's true. Where was I? All right, so because of that positive experience, I didn't tell him to fuck off, but my reaction was more like, oh God, really? But even that only lasted for like, I don't know, a moment. And then all I could think of was how I could make this as pretty as possible, given what it is. And I must say, I'm kind of excited, you know. I obviously haven't seen it yet because it's, God, I have no idea what date it is. Where's my phone? Let me check on my phone. Wait a second. Oh, the 19th. Oh, that means that, in 2 days it's the Juicer solstice. I must try to remember that. Probably won't, though. So anyway, it's December now, the 19th, and the album hasn't even been made, so I only know it in theory. And in theory, I really like it. So yes, I'm kind of excited about it, which is odd. Yeah, so much about that. Chapter 1, the end. I need tea. I'll be right back. Okay, so how did it all start? Well, I met Holger in 1989. And I only know this because somebody took a photo of me on a graveyard at night. And behind me on the door, there was a poster that said, Toten Sonntag, 1989. So that's why I know. That's my only time reference. We were having a seance there that night. You know, with a Ouija board and a witch board. Only we didn't have a witch board back then. In fact, I don't think I knew anyone in the 80s who had a witch board. They were kind of impossible to get because they weren't being sold in toy stores. And I think even our go-to occult store, the Occulta, yeah, I know, even he didn't have one. Oh, wait. No, I think he did. Because, yeah, I remember we asked him once. And he was like, oh, sure. And I remember him climbing up the ladder to the top of the shelf. And he came down with 2 boxes. And I think one was a cardboard version of the Ouija board, and which looked really crappy. And the other one was, I can't remember how it looked, but I remember it was really expensive. I think 18 marks or something. So it was out of the question. I think he mentioned the price first, so that's why we didn't even look at it. Something like that. So what we always used instead was just any old board or flat surface that we had, and we would tear up pieces of paper and write the alphabet and all that on it, place it in a circle, and then use a glass for the planchette. It was always a wine glass for some reason. Yeah, that's what we used to do for entertainment. Often after coming from a club, like 2 o'clock in the morning or something, or instead of going to a club. I remember one night, I think we were like 3 or 5 people, and I was carrying the glass. I had this really beautiful wine glass, and we had to climb over the graveyard wall. And I had it in my backpack, and for some reason, I usually never did that, but for some reason, I was throwing my backpack over the wall. And the moment it left my hand, I thought, oh, wait. And the next thing I heard was like glass shattering on the other side. And that was it. Fuck, no, I've lost the plot. Where was I going with this anyway? Oh, right, yes. So I met Holger in 89 in a club in Frankfurt called Negativ. That's negative in English. Yes, very fitting, I know. And I only remember 2 things from that night. I think it was a Saturday, because it was very crowded. And I walked in, I think there was a curtain as far as I remember, and you walked around the corner, right corner, and there would be the dance floor right there, and behind it the stage, on the right side the DJ booth, and on the left somewhere the bar. And he and his girlfriend were sitting right underneath the DJ booth. And everyone was smoking. That was the 80s, most people were smoking back then. It was disgusting. And yes, all I remember is that at some point we were standing outside because you couldn't talk inside, it was far too loud. Also, we needed air. And, well, we talked about occult stuff and music that we liked. And I remember we were getting along instantly. And at some point we even talked about how our live shows would look like. As if, you know, empty stage and everything shrouded in fog. which I still like. I mean, it's not very original, but yeah. Oh, and the other thing, which really surprised me, was that he suggested to come and visit me the next day with his keyboard. And that was something I didn't expect at all. So apparently he was really eager to do this, just as me. So yeah, that came as a surprise. And yeah, that was our first meeting. Oh, the whole thing was arranged by a mutual friend of ours who knew that we both wanted to make music, as in form a band. Right. So yes, the next day he came to visit me. I picked him up at the train station. I think it was around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because it was still light out there. And we walked to my place, and I hardly remember anything from that day. Only that at one point, he was playing a simple melody to me on the keyboard, like really only 3 or 5 notes and a bass drone, which I think he said was either a copy or something inspired by Death and June, something from Death and June's The World That Summer album, because he was really into Death and June at the time, and that entire World Serpent nonsense. I probably shouldn't say that. Oh, it's true though anyway. Yeah, and the other thing... Oh, when he left, right, when he left me his keyboard, which technically wasn't his keyboard. I think he said it was his girlfriend's, his punkish girlfriend's, which she had arranged somehow, somewhere, and she didn't need it back, didn't want it back. It was a Casio keyboard with some random power plug which didn't even fit. And, well, he left it at my place. He said we didn't need it, and I would need it much more because I would have to write songs. And that was his entire contribution, leaving me his keyboard. But, you know, in retrospect, that's perfectly fine. Though, in the beginning, I really thought that being a duo would be the way to go. But, like, the second I started creating stuff, I mean, it became clear that there could only be one voice, you know, only one vision, for lack of a better word. Which is why after that first tape, he said that he doesn't want his name mentioned anywhere anymore because he doesn't have anything to do with the music or Sopor in general, which is understandable. Yeah. So that was the beginning. Which leads me to the music. And of this I have absolutely no memory at all. There's fragments, but that's it. Oh God, what can I tell you? So there was this guy by the name of Marian. Yes, as in, I hear you calling. And he sort of played keyboards in 2 or 3 bands. So he had equipment, which he was kind enough to let me use to do my stuff. And I don't even remember how or where or when I met him. I think, again, it was probably through this mutual acquaintance. Her name was Ela, by the way. Which seems likely because I remember she was having a birthday party at some point. And he and his band were playing a concert for her in the basement of the building where she lived for like a year or so. But I think I must have known him by then already. I don't know. I think at some point, at some point, it's like after the concert, Holger and I were banging on the drums. And I was like playing this really stupid beat, like sort of Indian, as in red Indian. It's like boom, 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 boom. And he said, he was really impressed with it. And he said, like, wow, you need to play drums. And we actually ended up getting a drum kit from some guy. It was blue, glittery blue, which we had for like a month. And then we like sold it again because who needs to have real instruments? That's nonsense. Yeah. So anyway, Marian was kind enough to let me use his equipment. And all I remember of that is, I think it was the first time that we went to his place. Holger came along. I know this because I remember him standing behind me as I was improvising the track Dead Souls, which was the first thing I ever wrote. Mind you, not the entire song right there and then, just the first part, until those, what was it, like those 5 bells come in, you know, that ding dong ding dong dong. And that is all I remember. It's like, I don't remember writing the music or the lyrics. I don't remember recording anything. I don't even remember singing it. It's like, God. I do remember showing Holger the finished artwork for the tape as we were waiting for a train. And he liked it. And I remember him saying that, well, there's nothing to do for me. Well, it is true. God, what else? Oh yeah, I copied all the tapes in my bedroom. And I remember one day looking at them as they were lined up in front of my window. And it was such a depressing sight because I thought, I will never get rid of them, as in no one is ever going to buy them. I still have that feeling sometimes. It's also weird calling them demo tapes, because it wasn't really a demo as in demonstration for anything. I think I just called it a demo as an excuse for the poor quality. Because, you know, it wasn't a demo because, as far as I was concerned, the tape, that was it. That's all I wanted to do. You know, it wasn't meant to be sent to a record label to get a record deal and record the whole thing again in a proper studio. It's like, no, that was it. Which also explains why, when I met Alex eventually, who, as he claimed, only founded this label because he really wanted to release that tape on CD, I said, no, I can't do this. You know, I need to record something else, something entirely new. And It only took me 30 years to change my mind. Because now we're doing it. And it's fine now. God. What else? Oh, photos. Yes. Holger and I had exactly 2 photo sessions for Sopor. But when I say photo session, you know, it sounds a lot more posh than what it really was. Because we just took photos. And none of us even had a camera. So for that first photo session, we borrowed one from his girlfriend. There was a new girlfriend now. And it was a simple, point and click pocket camera. And I only had enough money for a 24 frame film. So that's what we used. But before we went to the graveyard, we went to a record fair. And I have no idea where that was. I think even back then I had no clue, because it was just tagging along. That happened a lot back then. But I remember exactly what I bought that day, namely Christian Death's The Wind-Pissed Pictures, yes. The Wind-Kissed Pictures. You know, the red one with the Ophelia painting on the cover? And I bought it from a guy who looked exactly like Peter Murphy. And he knew it. In fact, I'd seen him once or twice on the dance floor in the club. And he was doing the full Bela Lugosi's Dead routine, you know, as seen on Bauhaus's Shadow of Light videotape. I think it's on YouTube. You can look it up. I think Holger even knew him, or not, I don't know. But he was chatting to him as I was looking through the records he was selling. I think Holger asked him about how business was going that day or something like that. And I saw him putting that Christian Death record into one of his crates. And I was thinking, oh, nice, cool. That's what I was looking for. So I was hoping to find that at some point. When I heard him say, well, nobody's going to buy that crap here, I thought, yeah, well, I'm going to. It's still a good record. I mean, Velaby may be a tot cunt. I mean, he is. But it's still a good record. The lyrics are crap, though, but the music's good. In fact, Believers of the Unpure was actually my introduction to Christian Death. Rather late, I know. I had heard of Christian Death before, the name, that is. I think I've seen it written somewhere. And I always thought that it was a guy, you know, hi, my name's Christian Death. Oh, stupid. So yeah, that was my introduction. Where was I? All right, okay, so after the record fair, we went to the graveyard to take photos. That was the main one in Frankfurt, the Hauptfriedhof, which is kind of ugly. And the trees are pretty, but that's it. And we didn't even have a plan. We just thought we'd walk around, and if we see something that's sort of acceptable, we just pose in front of it, and that's it. Which is what we did. And the first picture we took actually turned out to be the best one of the 4 pictures that turned out. The rest were all crap. And that first picture was the one where we stood between those 3 white crosses, you know, with that statue in the background and a huge cross. Oh, actually, we took 2 photos on that grave because Holger really wanted to do one that looked like the cover of a Death in June album. So we were facing with our backs towards the camera. And it ended up looking like two guys pissing on a grave. It was so bad. Which is funny now. Now I would totally use it, you know, for shits and giggles. But sadly, I don't have it anymore. I had to... Well, it wasn't funny back then. Yeah, that's it for the photos. That's all I can tell you. Oh yes, in case you wonder, I had to edit them again for this release, obviously, because I can't print photos of people without their permission. But if you're curious, I mean, you should find them on the internet. I mean, everything is on the internet. And the internet does not forget. Oh, that rhymed. So there you have it. That's all I remember. I told you it was much. Sorry.